Hello, and welcome to another episode of Unshackled for Life. We are unlocking prosperity and liberating wealth. I'm your host, John Green. And in today's episode, I'm excited to talk about mindsets. We're going to talk about how people think things such as you only live once. YOLO. Also will address the why because I can mentality or the I deserve mentality. And then we'll switch to our unshackled for life mindset and we'll talk about things such as just because you can doesn't mean you should. All right, so that's today's episode. Let's go ahead and let's get into this. All right, so when I think about today's situation where people are living paycheck to paycheck, right? We've talked about this before. I think the number is somewhere like 65, 68% of American households are expected to be living paycheck to paycheck, meaning they are one paycheck away from financial doom. And most of that's due to a lack of savings as well as how people are spending money. And when you look into it, a lot of it can be linked to people's mindset, to how people consume things, how they buy things. And we all buy, some people buy what they need when they need it. Some people buy things just for the hell of it. And, and others are a little more strategic. They put a little more thought into how they're purchasing things. But, a lot of times it's just money going out of the door. So I want to talk about several mindsets. And I've had most of these, all right, at some point in my life. Just like, anytime when you grow up, you mature. You find, you realize that, hey, catering to your wants is not always what you need, if that makes sense. It should. We all want different things. We all want to be wealthy. We all want to live a life full of doing whatever we want to do. Like, we all wish we could do that, right? That's a want. But then it comes down to what we really need and what we need to do. And my hope is to show you that what you need to do is live within your means. And if you live within your means, you will find that there is way more opportunity to do a lot of those things that you want to do in a way that doesn't stress you out financially. So that's my hope today. All right? So let's start with you only live once. YOLO. There's a song by Pitbull, and, it kind of says, rent was due. Oh, I can't think of the words right now. But basically he said, rent was due a week ago, but we're going to go up in this club and have a good time, And when you think about that mindset of like, man, I know that rent was due a week ago. I know I don't have it. But I'm going to go in this club right now. I'm going to spend what money I do have. And, I'm just going to live it up. That's cool for a song when you think about partying at the club. That's great. That's a cool want. But is that what you really need? All right? How many people have done that before? I have. I've done it, especially when I was younger. I had some money in my pocket, especially if it was payday. Had some money in my pocket, and you go out to hang out with my friends, and we're sitting there, and shoot, man, everybody's buying shots, and everyone's having a good time, knowing that I got some responsibilities I probably should be spending my money on, but I'm going to spend it on this because this feels good right now. And that was fun when I was a boy, when I was young. But as I grew up, I realized, hey, you grow up, there's some responsibilities, and how you move is a little different than when I was a kid. So just something to think about as we grow up. Hopefully, we grow out of those mindsets, the YOLO mindset, the I deserve this mindset. You ever hear a kid just like, I want this, I want it. Parents are like, well, why do you want it, son? Because I do, because it's mine, I want it. I like it. It looks shiny, whatever. It's just always something silly. And it's a want. And, kids know they want it. But when you try to explain to them, like, hey, no, you can't really have that because, either you don't really need it or, hell, mom and dad can't afford that right now. People are mixed on how they interact with their kids. Some parents will tell their kids, hey, mommy and daddy can't afford that right now. That's not within our wheelhouse. But maybe next time. Maybe we'll have it next time or something like that. Maybe we'll have it later. I don't know. I'm not here to tell you how to parent. Parent how you parent. That's cool. But what I suggest is, understanding what it means to live within your means. Understand that you can't always do what you want to do. Sometimes there are restraints. And just because you have access to wonderful things like credit cards, things that will give you some money in the moment, you don't always want to go and spend using a credit card because that's going to cost you more in the long run. And you got to know that. You have to understand that. It's a part of being financially mature. Understanding that credit card, again, it's not an emergency fund. That credit card is a tool, and you should use it as such. It's a tool, but it should not be used to purchase all of your wants, okay? You really want to focus on the things that you need. And, once you have those things covered, and then if there's some extra money, there you go. That's your want money. That's and that's what you want. You want to have some money for your wants so you can take care of those things. Because, one of the things that I think some people hear when they hear the words, personal finance or budget or live within your means, I think a lot of people think that that's just a very restrictive way of thinking, and you're kind of like resisting that restriction. And what you should be thinking about is, no, I'm an adult, and I need to restrain myself from going into further debt with that credit card. And instead, I need to save a little bit here so that way I can pay off that credit card so I don't have to use it anymore. And, it's a progression. It's maturing. It's just like your money. It's going to mature. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get better. And you'll start to realize that, hey, decision making gets a little different once you get out of this mindset of I deserve and all of that. All right. And then, so mention YOLO, and then I wanted to talk about another mindset that I used to have. And I used to embrace this thought of why? Because I can. Why? Because I can. Back when I used to play video games, like, when I had to like make a video game handle, that was my video game handle. Why? Because I can. Why? BKZ, I can. And that's what it meant. Why? Because I can. So, I used to play the little shooting game. What was it called? Call of Duty. And, we sit there and wipe out a whole squad, and they would be all mad. And they'd be like, who's this YBK somebody? Your name doesn't even make any sense. But then I would just, get on the microphone and be like, why? Because I can. Respect it. And that's how I used to be. That was my mindset. That's how I used to roll. And I used to tell one of my boys, back in the day, this was like back in the 90s even, like before even the video games. I used to tell my boy, look, one day I'm going to buy a car and the license plate is going to say, why? Because I can. Why PKZ? I can. And he was like, what? He like, what, fool, what you talking about? I was like, yeah, man. Matter of fact, it's going to be a stupid car. I'm going to get like one of those old school, like one of those real Hummers. I'm going to paint that joker green, because my last name's Green. And then put some gold rims on it. And it's going to say, why? Because I can. And it's just a stupid mindset. I mean, my God, how stupid was I back then? You know? And some of you might be like, no, John, that's actually pretty cool. That sounds neat. No, it doesn't anymore. Like the more I think about it, like that was just so stupid. And he used to laugh at me back then, and and it was dumb. Like it was stupid. Why? Because I can. And even when I would, buy certain things, that was kind of my mindset. It was the same thing as the YOLO mentality. Basically, I'm gonna get it because I can, because I want it. So therefore, I'm gonna get it because I can. And in hindsight, that mindset cost me some money because I went into debt. I used to use that credit card to cater to my foolishness, and I ended up paying for that in the end. All right, paid a lot of interest on that stuff. On some of the stupid things I would purchase back then. And man, in hindsight, if I could go back to young me, to 20-something-year-old me, and talk to myself, one of the first things I would address is the stupidity of the why because I can mindset. And I would just kind of tell myself, look, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And what's funny about that phrase, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I was talking to my wife one night, and I'm telling her about my why because I can mindset and where it came from, and telling her about the Hummer and everything. And she told me she told me that her grandmother used to tell her quite the opposite. Her grandmother would constantly tell her, hey, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it shows why my wife is like, she has all this fundamental financial grounding, whereas me, I kind of have this crazy, or I had this crazy mindset of, yeah, why? Because I can, right? And she was just so much like, no, that's stupid, John. That's stupid. And that's not how we're gonna do things. And it kind of made me think about it. And I was like, yeah, I do sound like a little 5-year-old kid. I really do. I sound like a little boy. Sound like a little boy caught up in my feelings for the things I want, instead of putting some mindset to it, putting some brain power to it, some neurons, and realizing that, yeah, just because you can, folks, doesn't mean you should. Need to be a little more mature about the mindset. And I think once you do that and understand that, I think you'll find life is going to be a little different. You grow up a little bit, your money will grow with you. All right, that's kind of where I'm at, and that's kind of what I was thinking about today. So, you guys, I'm gonna keep this episode short. We're gonna cut it down so it's not over 15 minutes. Keep a nice short one. Just wanted to reach out to you guys and say hello and discuss this why because I can mindset versus the just because you can doesn't mean you should. Think about how that relates to your finances. Feel free to leave a comment. All right, and I'll talk to you guys later. You all have a good night. If you want to reach out to me, please leave you can visit us on the website www.unshackledforlife.com. That's www.unshackled4life.com. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. I apologize if you are following me and I'm not really posting a lot. Sorry. I don't do the whole social media thing as good as I probably should, so I'll start doing better with that. I'll work on that. And, if you need to reach out, feel free to do so. I'd love to hear from you. Talk to you later, everybody. Peace and love.